Ever wonder why your plane ticket costs way more than the person's next to you? Or why you only have one choice for your electricity provider? It's not a coincidence, it's economics, and today we're diving deep into the world of monopoly. A monopoly is the complete opposite of a competitive market. Instead of many companies fighting for your business, there's just one dominant player. This gives them immense power, known as market power, to influence prices. This isn't just theory. We see it all around us, especially here in Indonesia. So, how do these giants come to be? First, monopolies can arise from controlling a key resource. Think about it. If one company owns the only source of a vital material, no one else can compete. A classic Indonesian example is tin mining. Historically, the islands of Bangka and Belitung held massive tin reserves. The companies that controlled these mines effectively had a monopoly on tin production, giving them huge control over global prices. Second, governments can create monopolies. They do this through patents and copyrights, which are basically temporary monopolies to reward innovation. They also grant exclusive licenses. In Indonesia, think about broadcast television licenses. The government decides who gets to operate a terrestrial TV station. This limits the number of players, creating local monopolies. While it's meant to ensure quality and prevent signal interference, it also gives these stations significant pricing power over advertisers. The third type is perhaps the most interesting, the natural monopoly. This happens when it's just more efficient for one company to serve the entire market. Think about services with huge infrastructure costs, like water supply or electricity. It would be incredibly wasteful to have 2 or 3 different companies laying down their own pipes and power lines all over a city. In Jakarta, the water supply is a perfect example. The massive investment in pipes and treatment plants means that one provider, PDAM Jaya, can deliver water at a much lower average cost than if multiple firms were competing. So, now that we know how monopolies are formed, how do they decide what to produce and how much to charge? This is where they differ drastically from a competitive firm. A small business in a competitive market is a price taker. They have to accept the market price. They have a horizontal demand curve. But a monopolist faces the entire market's downward sloping demand curve. They are the price maker. This leads to a crucial concept: marginal revenue. For a competitive firm, the revenue from selling one more unit is simply the price of that unit. But for a monopolist, it's more complicated. To sell one more unit, they have to lower the price. And that lower price doesn't just apply to the new unit. It applies to all the units they were already selling. This means their marginal revenue is always less than the price. Let's use an Indonesian example. Imagine a pharmaceutical company holds a patent for a new, life-saving diabetes drug. Let's say the demand for their drug is described by the equation price equals to 100 minus quantity. Like any company, a monopolist wants to maximize profit. They do this by producing at the quantity where their marginal revenue equals their marginal cost. But here's the key difference. Because their marginal revenue is less than the price, at that profit maximizing point, the price will be higher than the marginal cost. This gap is where their monopoly profit comes from. And thanks to high barriers to entry, like patents or huge startup costs, new competitors can't just enter the market and drive those profits down. The monopolist can enjoy these economic profits for a long, long time. But what does this mean for us, the consumers, and for society as a whole? This is where we get to the welfare cost of monopoly. In a competitive market, firms produce where price equals marginal cost, which is economically efficient. A monopoly, by producing where price is greater than marginal cost, creates what economists call a deadweight loss. They produce less and charge more than what would be ideal for society. Think about it. There are people who would be willing to buy the product for more than it costs to make, but less than the high monopoly price. Those sales just don't happen. That lost value, that's the deadweight loss. It's a net loss for society. The monopoly's profit itself is technically a transfer of wealth from consumers to the firm, but the real social cost is the inefficiency from producing to little. Now, monopolies have a clever trick to capture even more of that value: price discrimination. This is when a firm sells the exact same product to different customers at different prices. To do this, a firm needs market power, the ability to separate its customers into different groups, and a way to prevent them from reselling the product. We see this everywhere. Movie theaters in Jakarta are a great example. You'll have one price for adults, a cheaper price for children and seniors, and maybe a premium price for the best seats. The cinema has a local monopoly. It's easy to check if someone is a student, and you can't really resell your movie ticket to someone else. Airlines are masters of this, with prices changing based on when you book, where you sit, and if you're flying on a weekday or weekend. This strategy can actually increase the total number of people who get to use the product, which can be a good thing. But it also raises questions about fairness. Given the potential downsides, what can be done about monopolies? Governments have a few tools in their policy toolkit. The first is promoting competition through antitrust laws. In Indonesia, we have the KPPU, the Commission for the Supervision of Business Competition. Their job is to investigate monopolistic practices, break up cartels, and review big mergers to make sure they don't kill competition. They've taken action against companies in telecommunications and other sectors to keep the market fair. For natural monopolies like electricity, breaking them up doesn't make sense. So, the government turns to regulation. Indonesia's state-owned electricity company, PLN, is a regulated monopoly. The government sets the price of electricity, often keeping it affordable for social reasons. They also mandate that PLN provides service to rural areas, ensuring everyone has access, not just the most profitable urban customers. Another option is public ownership, where the government runs the monopoly itself. The idea is to prioritize public service and affordable pricing over pure profit maximization. Finally, sometimes the best policy is to do nothing. If the monopoly is temporary, like with a patent that encourages life-saving innovation, or if the market power is actually quite small, the costs of government intervention might outweigh the benefits. So, from your electricity bill to the price of medicine, the power of monopoly shapes our economy in profound ways. It's a constant balancing act between encouraging innovation, ensuring efficiency, and protecting us, the consumers. Understanding these forces helps us see the hidden logic behind the prices we pay every day. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown of monopoly interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the world of economics. See you in the next video.